Chris here with something I'm rather excited to unbox. It's the GPD Wind. So it's a 5.5 inch handheld gaming device that is powered by Windows 10. It's got a joystick on there, even it's a little keyboard there, 6,000 milliamp hour battery, Type-C port, 64 gigabytes of storage, powered by an Atom Z8700. To me, it looks really interesting, something different. And I used to be really big into handheld gaming devices. I once had a site called pspslimhacks.com. Yep, that was mine, and this is what really this channel started out as, videos for that particular website. So you can see another DHL box, and yet again I had to pay taxes, of course. So if you want to avoid taxes, go for the free post method. Got this one here from gearbest.com, and I was waiting over 2 months for this since I ordered it, so it's taken a while to come through. Because a lot of these devices, they just went out to the people that were backing the Kickstarter, and they did send out some early prototypes to some rather large YouTubers. So, double boxed. Okay, and now we have the box, which they didn't put any bubble wrap around or anything, so it's a little scratched up because it's been moving around inside there a lot. Alright, so let's get this open. This is actually a second take because there's a Windows key that's displayed, and I want to cover that up. It's right there. And that was displayed to the whole world, so I don't want to give that away. So here we have the gaming handheld. Feels solid, heavy. We'll just look and see what else we actually get here in the box. So they do include a couple of screen protectors. In fact, sorry, just one screen protector. But it actually has Gorilla Glass on there. I think it's Gorilla Glass 3. So do you actually need that? Probably not. And here there is, looks like a cable, the way that is labeled. So you've got some Apple earbud looking headset there. Not very original. And then a Type-C, USB to Type-C cable. And this must be, of course, the charger. And that charger is rated to 5 volts, 2.5 amps. And lastly, some leaflets here. Win, and in English and in Chinese there. Kind of expected that. This is a Chinese device after all. So that's the reason here for the second take, because I just had my whole key exposed there. I don't know why they've done that, but they stuck the key there. So maybe it's not part of the BIOS, or maybe if you want to install Windows 10 again fresh, you've at least got a working Windows 10 home key there. Alright, so let's get this out of the protective sleeve it is in. So straight away I can see it has this metallic paint job on the top. That actually looks quite nice. Not bad there. And along the front here, there's a speaker grill. Maybe not actually, because I think the speakers are either side there. And there's an intake. And this right here is a switch that must be the fan control. So you can manually dial in the kind of fan speed you want, I guess, between cooling performance and noise. So a lot of ports on the back of this. That is really good. So we've got 3.5mm headphone socket, USB 3, micro SD card slot, and a mini HDMI out. Sorry, I think I said full size before. And then of course the Type-C port, which is good to see. We've got all this on such a small device with only a 5.5 inch screen. Triggers on the top, clicky, they feel alright. So along the front, there is also a little LED there and a microphone I can see. And nothing else there. So let's just get this open and have a look at the keyboard. So screen has like a fixed angle right there. I guess they want you to use most often, but it looks like it will actually, okay, it goes right back like that, so it does lie right down flat. Touchscreen, of course. So here we have the controls for setting the D input, X input, and a mouse mode. Now the mouse mode apparently is that you can use the joysticks there to control the mouse, and then the top triggers will be the left and right mouse buttons. And a very, very, very small keyboard. I don't know how I'm going to go on typing on this, because I think it could actually be easy to accidentally trigger or push two keys at the same time. Hopefully not. Windows key is there. We do have up and down. Everything seems to be there apart from... Okay, no, actually, print screen and all that is right here. And then we have the power on button and what looks like an Xbox logo. Now, how do the buttons feel? They have a reasonably good feel to them, as well as the joysticks here, analog joysticks. Don't have that much travel in them. That's going to take a little while to get used to, but overall, the ergonomics, that feels comfortable. Access, D-pad there. The D-pad actually doesn't feel that good to me, really. This is just a first impression, so that doesn't feel too bad. So, enough talking. Power it on. Blue status LEDs just come on, and now I can see the screen. And straight away I can hear the fan. I actually want to hear what that's coming out of. Where's the vent? Okay, so it's automatically stuck on, I think, the highest setting there. Just hear it. And yes, this is the actual fan vent there. So I can feel a small, tiny amount of air coming out of that. I don't know if you can hear that. That's actually quite loud, the fan. It's on the full mode. So I've got to go through the whole initial Windows setup here. Man, that screen is tiny. 720p. Okay. So that's why they put the Windows key there. I've got to key it in now. That's a first. Normally that is all automatic. Alright, so I typed in the Windows key and it took a long time to set up and then get into everything. But I just wanted to point out a few things. So obviously on a 5.5 inch screen, Windows 10 looks tiny, but we can of course increase the scaling of the screen. I'll do that later on, but it's going to be a little bit hard to make out here. But 4 gigabytes of RAM, and it does definitely have the Atom Z8700 in there. I think there's also some other models coming out with the revised one, so the Z8750. Windows activated, no problem, so the CD key is perfectly fine. Accuracy of the screen seems okay. I'm able to actually close just there in the window without too much of a problem. Now, free available space on the eMMC. Later on, I'll test out the speeds of it later in the benchmarks and all that when I do the full review. But we get 40.5 gigabytes free. I just wanted to have a quick look also what brand they've used under the disk drive. And if I can click, now this is where I'm having trouble here. But you can use the joysticks too. So now that joystick is actually acting as my mouse pointer for me, and it's actually working alright. I feel you can just see that moving there. So it's a Samsung eMMC they have used, proper brand. There we go, there's a better look at it. I've just zoomed into it with my lens. But it's got like scan lines, but I don't see that in person. That's just because the display is so small and only 720p. Zooming in like that is why that's happening. So the brightness here, I'm just going to touch the brightness control. It's currently at 40%. That's 50 there, 75 and 100, which seems quite bright. And the dimmer setting right there at 0% will probably be ideal for nighttime late use. So here's a look at it size-wise compared to my old PlayStation Portable Slim. There's a bit of a size difference there, and the thickness is similar considering all the hardware they've packed in there. I mean, a 6,000 milliamp hour battery, 4 gigabytes of RAM, wireless AC, all the ports on the back. I think that is really good, and considering too, they've also got the joysticks and the controller all built into that. Now, it doesn't feel that heavy. It is a bit of a bulky device. It comes in at 372 grams. And while I'm here, I'll just measure it. I know the official specs say what the actual thickness is, but I wanted to check that. So 22.5 millimeters. So quite chunky. This will still be able to fit that perfectly in a large pocket, at least, of your jeans or your pants or whatever. Now, I just wanted to point out the quality of the shoulder buttons here. I've noticed they feel quite loose to me. I don't particularly like the quality of it. You can see the movement they have, a lot of play. R1 as well. It just moves around a lot in there. And I can hear that click in there. So hopefully these are going to be reliable buttons, but they've got a lot of play in them. So the build quality overall seems good, but not perfect. I've noticed that there's a few tiny little imperfections around the joysticks there. Now these are made of rubber tips, so they've got really good grip on them there for your thumbs. And pressing down on both of them, they don't have that built-in button, which I think is R3, isn't it? So pushing down, no click, nothing there. And as mentioned in the beginning there, the D-pad seems okay, not brilliant, but I will have to check that out, of course, in gaming later on. Now, one other thing too is I've noticed that around here there's been a couple of little marks and things on the matte paint job, but it's probably a good idea they made this matte so it's not going to get all slimy and slippery and greasy. So I figured out what the fan settings are here just by using it. So this one here is fan off, slow speed, and then high speed. Let's have a listen to the high speed, which I find to be particularly loud. Alright, so the fan does make a bit of noise there, but I do like the fact they've given us the option to turn it off completely, and probably when you're gaming that will result in thermal throttling, and you can set it to the low setting. And if you're playing very, very demanding game, like a Windows game on there, something like League of Legends, if you wanted it to play it on such a small screen, but you could be using the HDMI out, keep it on full there, and that will at least give you maximum performance, hopefully, but I will test out thermals thoroughly in the full review. Actually, that is it. When it comes to Windows 10 scaling, it's already set at the maximum. I can't change that. I think it's because it's only a 720p display, so we can't increase the scaling there. That's it. Everything does look really, really small on the screen, but as mentioned, you can use at least the joysticks here to control the mouse. So it's got two side left and right firing speakers. Let's have a listen to how they sound. Okay, so they have plenty of volume to them, tiny hint of bass. They actually don't sound that bad, considering the size of this thing. So will it access external hard drives from the USB ports on them? The good news is yes. Both of the ports can power an external 1TB hard drive. I also tested out my Samsung 128GB micro SD card, and that also works without any problems. However, there's one thing I've noticed, that when I connect up anything into the USB ports, these external hard drives at least, that it makes this high-pitched squealing noise coming out of at least one of the speakers there. I do not know why it's doing that, but it's causing some sort of interference. One bug I have encountered is the accelerometer doesn't seem to be rotating the screen. Often it will be inverted around the wrong way. Now, if you're thinking that I've got the rotation lock set on by mistake or something, that's not actually the case. And sometimes all you need to do is just give this a wiggle and then the screen would correct itself. But at this time, it doesn't actually want to set itself right. So if I put it up now, there we go. It's moved, but it's not correcting itself there, at least in this landscape position. This is really annoying. So that's the unboxing, and my first impressions, I gotta say this is an interesting little device here. Now it's gonna have its setbacks, of course, due to the size constraints it has with the screen. I've already found that the touch accuracy when trying to click on links and things in Edge isn't that great. You can get some kind of accuracy there closing windows and things, but it's not wonderful. Now typing experience on the keyboard, I would rate as average because it's a little bit smaller, but I was able to key in single lines like youtube.com, and I found the experience as kind of like, I would say similar to the BlackBerry hardware keyboards. Very similar there. Now the joypads on there, I've noticed that the build quality of some of the buttons there, they feel a little loose and flimsy to me, but I will have to game on them first to really come to a final conclusion of whether they are good or not. Now the joypads, both of them, the joysticks, sorry, they feel alright. They don't have too much travel to them, so wonder if hopefully the accuracy of them is going to be good. Buttons feel okay, and I will test out gaming on this to see if we're going to have thermal throttling, even if I set the fan on maximum setting. I don't know, I'm going to have to check that out. Now, it does make a lot of noise, the fan, on the maximum setting, So you have that option, which I find is good. So you can put it on maximum setting, try not to get any thermal throttling, keep those temperatures down, and that might be useful for really demanding games and things. So again, I will have to check all of that out, run benchmarks on this, and see just how well this performs. So I will be back with probably 2 or 3 videos more on this one. So keep an eye on the playlist. And if you haven't already, why not think about subscribing to the channel? Thank you so much for watching.